Hey, Guy, after hours. Um,
What's up?
7 inning baseball in Arizona. How are we feeling about this? I mean,
I'm not, look,
I'm a purist, but
I'm not thrilled with the 7 inning thing and double headers and extended rosters and all that stuff. I'm a purist as well, but I said this on the show earlier, and I'll say it to you now. If you think about teams playing in front of an empty stadium, who would be at most benefit? It would be the Mets because they're used to it. So I think if there is a season, I'd actually be long Met wins under these circumstances. I mean, for them to play in silence, I mean, it's right up their alley.
Can I pick you up on a joke book? Because I think I've heard that joke about our stadium. By the way, the industrial park that is the new Yankee Stadium, any baseball purist will tell you that they'd much rather be at Citi Field, which, whether it's contrived or not, it feels like a baseball park. It's actually fan friendly. And in fact, Yankee fans are saying that. But let's go to the Grapefruit League, because ultimately what's bizarre to me, I get that in spring training, they can be in open roof stadiums, unlike what the D-backs do. The D-backs, I said. I didn't say something else. The D-backs. What the D-backs do, but in July and August, it's going to be 106 degrees for a doubleheader every day. Talk to me about that.
That's going to be problematic, especially for some of the guys
in Mets that care.
I mean, when you got Robinson Cano playing second base at 53 years old, I mean, he's going to be sweating more than Paris Hilton taking the SATs. With that said, Linda, my wife just said she liked Shea Stadium as well. We went to see the Mets Dodgers last summer. Don't ask me why, but the Korean pitcher was pitching for the Dodgers. He's lights out against the Grominator, and the Mets won, I think, in the ninth on some.
Why does he have to be the Korean pitcher? Why does he have to be the Korean pitcher? How about just the pitcher? How about
because
a guy that was throwing some nasty stuff?
Filthy.
It's filthy. By the way, this is my Little League glove. We're here in the time capsule, as you know. Brooks Robinson's over my shoulder, as you also know. I'm a huge O's fan, but we'll get into that. He's no Mike Tuckman at the hot corner. Anyway, let's talk about the market, because I think, out of the gates, strong like the Mets, finished with a whimper. I'll let you finish the sentence. What happened?
Yeah, finished with a whimper. And, now you have to say, is this going to be a continuation of a typical Mets season where they rattle off, a 20-8 start and wind up going, 75 and whatever the other side of that is. So, and that's what I think could happen here. I've known you and I have agreed on a lot of things. I think we sort of have different views on this, but I thought the market could trade the S&P 500. I thought it could make its way up to 2790. I think it got up to 2756 or so today, so close. And then it obviously failed. And I said on the show earlier, I think the next 2 days, and there's only 2 days left in the week because Friday's Good Friday, markets close. I think it's really important for the rest of the month. As important to 2 days as we're going to see. So I obviously didn't like the way the market traded today. I didn't like the fact that the VIX pushed back up to 46. I didn't like the way that oil traded off. There were a lot of things not to like about today. And the fact that it did it after rallying, I think, almost 25% from that low of 21.91, that to me is a little bit problematic.
I agree. And I think the market did two things that arguably the Yankees do. There was some predictability to the buying. That ultimately took us here. And I think a lot of people felt that this level at the market, somewhere around 2750, was almost expected. And then people were worried about what's the valuation I'm willing to buy at. Is this Eddie Lee Whitson? Is this Jacoby Ellsbury? We have no idea what the economy is going to be, and we could be making two of the worst free agent acquisition signings of all time. But let's not talk about the Yankees and how they just try to buy that pennant that seems to have actually gotten quite elusive. I think the market, to me, I'm going to take away my glass half full again. So let's keep our agree to disagree. I think that, yes, there's no question that technically we got some levels on stocks where we needed to take a breather. We were as overbought to the upside on a 6 or 7 day basis as we had been to the downside during a similar period. I recognize we have zero insight really into the economic impact of all this. Part of what opened the market today was yesterday, and I remind folks who say, "Hey, what was really going on?" Because the death toll is rising in this horrific global pandemic, but it's the growth rate of new diseases that's slowing slowing. And we got some insight out of Italy this morning that actually May 4th could be a day that they're really back to work. And there's other parts of Europe that are beginning this planning process. God bless you. I think, it's something that ultimately the markets did find some solace in.
That was one of my 3 dogs. So it was actually Flip. So Flip is a seeing eye. He's going to be
By the
a
way,
seeing eye.
extra points. Give me 3 Dog Night. What do you got?
3 Dog Night, a lousy band, very 70s. Give me their miserable song. One is the loneliest number or something, which is such a ridiculous.
3 Dog Night, or we're an American band? Is that?
No. I think One is the loneliest number is a 3 Dog Night song. But just let me say this, since you're bashing on the Yankees' predictability, the reason why the Yankees have made so many monumental mistakes is because they're a franchise and an organization that is willing to take risks, as opposed to the Mets that are shopping in the bargain basement for the last 27 to 30 years. So quite frankly, I'd rather be, and I am, a Yankee fan than a Met fan. And I'll say this, and I've said it to you before, if the Yankees' playoff life hinged on the Mets beating the Boston Red Sox, I would be 100% rooting for the Boston Red Sox.
You said that before, but I thought you were going to, let's talk about an organization that's not afraid to take chances and actually spend some money. And let's talk about Disney. Let's talk about the Walt Disney Company. You look at that stock, and you can say we got down into the mid 80s and it's had a pretty strong rally off the bottom. Here we are talking about effectively ESPN and sports coming back online. We're talking about a parks business. So their parks and consumer experiences subsector of their revenue split is somewhere around 38-39%. No question, ad revenues on the media side are going to, hard for me to think that they're going to be as strong in 2020 2H as they were in 2H 2019. So what's the call on Disney? Because again, this is a proud American franchise that goes almost as far back as the Metropolitans. In fact, they go back farther. No, really. Talk to me about Disney. I want to own Disney here because I actually think that in the medium term, that business is coming back. I think as uncertain as we are about this virus, people do want to get out to the ballpark, but I do think people want to go to these amusement parks out in 2021. I think they'll be there.
I think that's definitely the half full thing. And I'll go the flip side and say, look, I can understand why over the next 5 to 10 years, Disney at $101 is something you'd be interested in. But in the short term, I think you're going to retest that 80, at least get back down to the $90 level. I think Disney traded down to $85 or so. And that's having traded, I think, north of 150 at its recent zenith. You think about it, I can't believe the parks are going to come back in a meaningful way, at least for the next year and a half, 2 years. And yet Bob Iger quickly saying, look, we now check people's bags. We might have to start taking people's temperature when they come to our parks. And if you think about that, if you're a family of 5 coming in from any place in this country, you show up online and wait in 98-degree sun, and one of your kids is spiking a 99.5 temperature and they don't let you in. Think about you're not just going to turn around and walk away and say, let's go to SeaWorld instead. I mean, it's just extraordinarily problematic, and it's such a big part of their business that I don't think you can make that much of a bullish argument for the next 6 months or so in Disney.
I do think that there are some fathers that would be feigning fever on that day because they would rather not be there. They would rather be going down the road. If you were there, a couple of weeks ago, you could have actually been to see your Houston Astros, I think, play their spring training games there. But let's not get into another sore subject. I do think let's close on Disney and let's find some parting words here. I think their studio business continues to be a kingmaker in terms of their consumer products business and their CPG business. In 2019, they had 5 movies that had north of $1 billion in revenues and set records upon records that they'd already set a couple years earlier. Studio is the gift that keeps on giving. It's part of lubricating that flywheel. I do think Disney's coming back. This is a medium to long-term purchase. This is not necessarily even something I think you need to wait for your kids to get to college to. It's a great franchise. Let's play ball.
My pushback would be it closed, I think, today around 101 or so. I think you're going to have an opportunity to buy it cheaper. And when I say cheaper, somewhere between, I think, 88 and 93. So if you're in that camp, I'd rather wait here in the short term as a trade, Tim.
You and me, ticket to Arizona, 3 weeks. What do you say?
No interest in going to stand outside an empty stadium and drink a warm beer with you, watch the San Diego Padres play whoever they're going to play on some random Tuesday night. So no.
Tell Linda I'm coming over. We're going to pick up a couple cold ones and watch it in your living room.
Be well.
See ya.